Oh, yeah.
All right, we're done.
That's going to be the one, the tiny,
Edit this,
tiny
Mason.
wieners.
Edit this. Oh, good. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Cathode Ray Podcast number 38. It's my friend Steve Nutter and I. We're talking about our week, talking about the projects, talking about what's up with us and in retro gaming. Steve, good to see you, mate. It's been another week.
It's been another week. It's good to get back and kind of get in a little bit more rhythm here. Jump back in with you 1 week
good.
later, as opposed to the last couple months. We've just been kind of like sporadic, but it's good.
Look, summer's happened and all that. I can feel my work's changing, my company's changing, my work's happening. So I'm looking to focus more on this as well. And it's good to just have that rhythm, man. Just doing the episodes each week, get consistency. And it's been like a bit of it's kind of interesting. When we started the show about 1 year ago, it was more of my transition from moving, and now it seems like a year later, you're the one in more of the transition maybe, but we'll see. You never can tell. The cool thing is that this show has gone on a year, and I guarantee you there's got to be at least a few people that have been around the entire time. So Thank
if
you.
you're listening, thank you, and definitely, say a comment, and we'll give you a shout out on the next show, right? We should.
I was looking at
give some shout
38. 38. Sorry,
that's pretty crazy.
Yes, so do some shout outs to people. There are those people that always regularly write in the comments as well, and you can see those people that like the tweets, and I do appreciate that. That is a little nice to know.
Yeah, it's great. So I think that as time goes on, as long as we can come on here, and there's still, sometimes we'll randomly be, of course, doing what we're doing, just talking random stories, and then there are some things going on in the tech world. And just a real quick thing, which we actually didn't even talk about this. We'll start off maybe.
Let's go.
Martin, our friend Martin, who was, of course, one of our first guests, his card, the BKM68X replacement card for the BVM, Sony BVM A series. The RGB card has been finally shipped from Castlemania Games. All the parts were finally assembled, everything passed QC, and now it's out in the wild. And so it's great to see people, especially on social media. The two places I've been seeing it most has been the Facebook group for professional video monitors, and then Twitter. And so it's always awesome to see something finally come out. That's been such a long project.
What was the thing holding it up in the game? Was a part shortage pulling that together? I forgot.
It was partially that. Of course, there were over the time it was based, I think, upon a certain FPGA, and then like the FPGA was an unobtainium, and so then it had to be redesigned around another FPGA. And then I don't know that this is exact, but I believe this is what happened. And Ryan actually was able to secure a huge lot of the FPGA. So that was like the good thing, but it cost him a lot of money, and he had to have it sit there. And I remember talking with him, about 6 months ago, and it was being held up because of like BNC adapters. Actually, the 75 ohm BNC adapters to attach to the actual card were all on back order, and you couldn't find those anywhere. So that was the challenge in the last parts, and then they finally came in. Assembly was done, and then QC was done. And there have been some like issues that have come out since then, and they're if you follow Martin on Twitter, that's the best way to stay ahead of this in case you do have this trouble. But there's some just compatibility issues, some issues where it goes into standby, and it's all just a matter of monitor configuration. So it's like there's certain settings in the monitor that you just need to change, and Martin's documenting those. So that's all good. It's all being flushed out, and it's just wonderful to kind of see that finally come out and start seeing some people use it.
When they, what you were saying that Ryan had to obtain the FPGAs himself. So were they are they hand built when they were finally here, or they sent them to some sort of factory or foundry here in the States?
Yeah, and these are going to be really good questions to bring on Ryan and to ask him specifically about, I feel, because I don't know the exact answer to that, and I don't want to make up something. But
But Ryan's a guy that I've talked to at the last convention that I talk to regularly. He'll come on, and he could talk about these challenges, especially now since the product, I think, has released. Maybe it'll give him, like a little bit of pressure off him, because instead of people like, where is this thing? Where I don't think it's, now it's finally here. So I do know that, he had to get all that and store, keep it. And the most expensive thing was the FPGA, and like 300. I mean, they were almost 60 plus 70. The majority of the cost was this chip,
right?
So he had to just sit there and wait with all this inventory too, and just wait for these BNC adapters to show up, and then be able to send them off to be assembled.
That's the hard part about running a store. I mean, having that stock. Even, have you ever had that experience when you go to the mall or wherever you might go, and there's one of those stores just from different types that has so much shit in there, so many products, like on the walls and the windows and whatever stuff it might be, and you just think like, what fucking year are you living in? Who has a store with so much stuff in it anymore? How could that possibly be useful? Doesn't some seller overnight in America, maybe out here in Europe, stuff's hard to get, but in Amazon next minute delivery, and people you look at that stock and you go like, whatever those things might be, and you're like, there's many thousands of stock sitting there. Are you ever going to sell that? How fast are you converting that stock back into liquidity? It cannot be fast. I'm looking at whatever that product is, and it's not something that's, flying off the shelf necessarily in a hurry. How do you do it? So I really respect, coming back to Ryan at Castlemania, is that he's got to run a store, and he's got to say, here's a chunk of my business money. I've just got to leave it sitting on the floor for a while with the fucking hope, not quite a guarantee, of when I'm going to be able to convert that into sellable stock again. So good on him that such people exist in our community, and that he's willing to put in those hard yards.
Yeah, and it's good that over time the companies are so well. Like I know that Ryan does a great job at running his business. I've talked to him so many times on the phone about just things, especially before this card was released, and just over the time of him trying to get, I've sold him a couple of CRTs just to try to help him test a lot of these monitors for the shop. So he wanted ones that were refurbished, and it's been a while. So he's had them for, years, but he, they're smart because they have to do projects they know in the way they're doing them, where they can't, they're not trying to open themselves up to like outside investors that will come in and like try to manipulate their business practices. They're not going out and hopefully, stretching. It's hard when you're in a business and you're like, do I stretch myself on a risk to like, how much of a risk am I going to be taking to make a profit, or possibly not even make a profit at the end of it, right? I mean, and you're like, wow, we just did all this work and we're just breaking even, and it was such a hassle. And so you learn over time. And so now, that's the best experience. So now, Ryan, as future endeavors come out, you become more and more confident in his ability to deliver in the long run on what he says he can do. And like this card is an example of something that took a long time. And I mean, I did see people getting impatient on some of these groups, which in today's economy, I do not understand that. And maybe I got a bridge over from that to something else that has been put on hold, which I'm not sure that you've been seeing. But
just anyway, before I guess we move on from that, what is also good about a trusted seller like Castlemania is that when there are delays, they're very justifiable and extremely reasonable delays. Now, there are some creators who have a delay and there's just radio silence. And it's just like, it's not like, the things are caught up in customs and and that also doesn't mean you don't need to give your patrons or your followers a day-by-day timestamp sheet of the work that you do. But some update, and he doesn't go silent. There's no radio silence on. He's like, as soon as that stuff clears customs, boom, I'm gonna make them, yo. And that is also what I think inspires confidence in those around you. And it's a very common thing. You see it 9 times out of 10 on Kickstarter, because the reason you're on Kickstarter is maybe you don't have that much experience in this, and then all of a sudden all those people are talking to you and you don't know how much to give, how much to say back, so you just put the shutters down for a while and don't respond to anyone for days, weeks, months, and everyone's back that project on Kickstarter. So that communication...
And we've all had those experiences where you back something and then it's like ghost silences, or you lost money doing something like that. And, you know, Ryan, like they have, I think you could go in there and they have a newsletter. They publish regularly. You could follow
it's
that.
a long one,
and
too.
Then,
yeah, it's always full of shit.
And it's always something. And then there's, you know, he's not silent on anything. He's very much in touch with, of course, me and then Bob. I mean, I know he talks to Bob all the time. So very busy. But he also is holding, like, the people that he works with to a higher level of accountability, of manufacturing, of quality. That's all going back to good things here because he's just like one of us, a passionate gamer in a dream job, kind of like built his own dream company, I'm sure, right? So
did I understand? Also, was there something recently where Todd from Retro Cave? Sorry, is it Todd from Retro? Who does the 3D printing? Retro Frog,
yeah. No,
yes. Todd from Retro Frog is now not servicing or sending out his own products. That as much as I understood from the announcement, that Ryan's going to fulfill them, like do the sending part.
Okay,
is that what you? Yeah. So
I don't know. I didn't follow that story, but
okay. So that's what
that
would
make sense. Mm-hmm. Like that's a good deal. That's what and. So yeah, like if you want to get it, you should go through. If it's something that you know, Ryan's got a front to everything, and I mean, I talked to him years ago about he wanted to have CRTs on there, and I was like, look, man, I can't like. There's no way I would really be able to keep up with that kind of demand, and
sure.
I don't know like that you really want to get right. 2 BVMs this year, and it's right. It's like you really want to go through all the so anyway, but. Yeah, it's great that people are being, and I think that can help people scale up. I mean, that's great. Stuff like that.
That's right. Ryan. Ryan's got the infrastructure. I know. I run my own web shop, and it's not hard, but it's not easy either. There's still a lot of steps and the fucking tax, and you still got to work out things. And it gets a bit easier, but nevertheless, you're still running it. So right on. The Ryan specializes in that, and then Todd can do. Yeah, and that's a good sign for our niche community that now small businesses in our niche community can get together. That's our infrastructure. That's our ecosystem. That's healthy things to see. So right on to all involved.
Yeah, it's a good sign that if you do have something that's like needed out there, that you can go somewhere locally and talk to somebody. It's not like, you know, it's... Now, if you do have a good product, it comes out and you want to try to scale up and sell it more, I'm sure if you have a plan for it, you could go talk to Ryan about it. If it's a legitimate plan and something that both parties can benefit from, I know he'd be interested in it. So if it's good for the community, and I know that would be exactly, you know, right up his alley. So, great ideas coming. It's good to still see progression in this, and anything like that brings more solidity. And validity is always a great thing.
Nice.
So yeah, to bridge over like from
where were you
something that was something that was, you know, we were talking about something that was being kind of complained about, but eventually, and again, this was a very small amount of people complaining about the BKM card, but you know, two people just yelling. So then you have on the other side the OSSC Pro that was supposed to come out, and now it's had to be just basically indefinitely put on hold or canceled pretty much due to how difficult it is to basically build and execute a product right now, especially something like that. So it's like it's so much. We've gotten to a point where things are so much better on one end, but at the same time, it's harder than ever. Since it stood this hobby niche into this retro gaming thing, it's much harder now than
there are limits, and there's a technology limit on that. It's hard to get that technology, so maybe we're just not there at that technology yet. We all wanna, like, it relies on the TVs get to 4K, and then we all want 4K, and then that means that all our retro shit's got to get to 4K as well. And so the retro, we're all obsessed with 4K because that's now what TVs are, but we don't set the speed. Maybe next week it's 8K and we're like, oh shit, now we're going to have the 8K retro, 8K tink, quad-oclet tink, right? Just because TVs got better. So these all of technology doesn't necessarily move at the same rate. And it just so happens right now we can't make 4K retro work. It's just not, the technologies are there yet. And if that means parts aren't there, well, that means the technology's not there yet.
Right, and then we constantly are starting to think, is the question, do we just kind of like skip the 4K thing and just go for best we could do with OLED, right? It's just like, so I think that this goes to praise kind of like the things that Mike Chi's been able to still do.
Absolutely.
And
the people that can
of course,
get it done.
Roger's always over there, you know, ooh, Mike Chi. And it's deserving. I mean, he's kept his product like available, and it's great. It's updated. I don't even own one, but I need to get one. I'll still tell everybody it's great.
He's very zen with the Force, and he knows how to make that happen.
What about our good friend Roger's new television set? 8-bit Esquire. Did you see the Sony? Yes,
he classic 80s. Yes, old school.
Yeah, the wood grain Sony KV. So that was a really cool looking set. Had me looking for stuff online, and it's just like,
right. What the influencer now is. Now all the 80s wood grain ones are gonna, in demand. Steve, you're working one end of the CRT market, and Roger's working the other end of the CRT market. Men who make us crave CRTs. They come in all forms.
Yeah. So that's like what I'm always on the lookout is for stuff like that 13-inch size that's really cool looking, that's different. And
I know. I want to because now I've got the 20-inch BVM here, and it's one of those things that almost to say like how much I love the picture, and I because you always want to be respectful. I'm not trying to sound gatekeepery or disrespectful to anyone that does it, and our correct way of thinking usually is any CRT is good, and absolutely I believe that. However, then I took a quality Sony VHS player, composite out into the 20-inch BVM. Star Wars on VHS looked fucking amazing. So good. Just, it's it's just a VHS. It's not even a good one. I got it from the thrift store. So it's already not of the highest quality. And it's like thinking to yourself, oh, this is how they would have actually edited it. This is a legit Pro monitor, and maybe it would have looked a bit better. They were using some sort of better quality tape for the high-level editing, no doubt. And, or
like the final copy of this video would have been like watched by somebody before it goes out for production,
right? On that monitor,
yeah, something like that, right? Exactly, like that finished video, because or they're going through and chopping it, editing it, using that display, which is pretty awesome too to think about. Maybe not. It wouldn't have been like that one, but it would have been those later ones that. Like episode 1 through...
Yeah.
They would have all been done on those BVMs,
I think this was 1995 I saw the release of it. So is that the redone... Wasn't that the redone George Lucas one?
Oh, yeah, there was. There was the remastered ones, like the redone...
and he made all the changes.
With the little, CGI added.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Okay.
But no, that's... I think this is the CGI added one, because I just saw some scenes and I was like... That don't look like no shit George Lucas did in the fucking 80s. No, okay, that looks like some CGI.
Yeah, okay. Which one, which movie was it?
Return of the Jedi. Okay. With Swedish subtitles, just so you can prata svenska while you're watching Jedi
Dude,
Knight
that would
Luke.
be an incredible... Hey, you could do a video on that and talk about... You should do the thing where we put it in the underscan or the HV delay mode where it shows you the caption up in the secret lines of caption where it's actually showing you this. That's where the Swedish subtitles data is captured in the overscan areas, because it's like really. So I don't know. I can't remember these exact numbers for the PAL, but I think it's like in PAL, for example, the whole entire area is 625 lines, but they're only showing 576 on screen. That extra data is kept up in there for things like macro vision protection and subtitles, and you could like put on the subtitles and then zoom it down, and you could show when that data is like flashing across the
tape.
That's a good idea, and well, we could check that. That's going to be cool. That's a really good idea because the other alternative is maybe those subs are baked into the final product, and they're not using the scan line thing to see whether because maybe a broadcast definitely would have done that sort of thing. Free broadcast
and they add
at the time would have done it. It would be interesting to know whether it's baked into the DVD on the VHS or not. So I'll check it out because also I could probably like 1/3 understand Swedish as well. So really? I could like 1/3 read the subtitles. Not really well. And look, it's really only because it's so close to English. You could probably understand 1/3. All right, it's not that hard. So
that BVM is like the creme de la creme of BVMs because it's the one with the higher line count and the analog tube.
Did I mention the 1,000 lines? Sorry, did I mention? Yeah, you said okay. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop there.
So,
I love it.
That's really good. I've got something coming that I've been talking to a viewer about for a long time that I'm finally going to get at the convention I'm going to at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. He's bringing it to me. It's supposed to be. So it's a late,
music. Was it Music City?
Yeah,
what was the name of the
Music City Multicon in Nashville at the end of this month in October, and he's coming to give me a Laserdisc player, like a working Pioneer Laserdisc player. So I'm really excited to finally get one of those. It's working. And not have to go like find it on eBay. He's going to sell it to me for the amount he had. It's like $100, which I was like, sure. I don't have one. I need one.
Yeah, that's great. Sure, if it works.
So
like
get that.
Buy from a trusted seller. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's like, I had 2 of them, and I don't need this.
Huh.
So
has he done any work to it, or just
No, I don't think so. Just
cool.
got it, and it knows it works. He bought a PVM that I restored a long time ago in Nashville. It was one that I actually spray painted the shell. From gray to all black. And did even videos about that. Gosh, that was first year retro tech stuff. So he's going to be there. I know
That's
that
cool.
I've been talking
That's going to be
Chris.
a good video if you tear that down as well.
You're
going to want to get inside of that thing. That's going to be cool.
That'll be fun. I'm excited to get that and then see how that looks on some BVMs,
Nice.
Because that'll be composite video.
That's dope.
So.
Okay. Nice, bro. You said you were talking to Chris, sorry?
Yeah, so Chris, so we're also going to be at that show, and I will be there, and I'm sure we'll have a talk Saturday. I talked to the show organizer finally. I sent him a message, and he got back to me. I was like, hey, I hadn't talked to him. I'm like, I see I'm on the website, so I know I'm supposed to be there. I'll be there, I was like, I'm going to be there on Friday. I'll be there after the show starts, and then I could be there all day Saturday, and then Sunday I'll probably have to drive back because I'm actually bringing my son with me. They have the day off from school Friday for some reason. It's like a teacher day, teacher work release day. I don't know.
They need it.
Anyway,
They need it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So they get the day off. Max gets to go back. My son gets to go with me to this gaming convention, and so I was like, can I get an extra all-inclusive pass for my assistant that's going to be helping me this year? He's my son. And he's like, of course. They're just like goofing around, being professional with him. And he just being funny. And so he'll get a pass. We'll go down there. I asked him, I said, can I get some kind of table? And I was like, I don't care where it is. He's like, oh, man, we're so full. And I was like, well, I don't care. If you can work it in somewhere, I don't care. Whatever, do it. But I know that there's going to be like conference rooms all over the place. And there will be times when no one will be in there, and I could go in there and do something that'll be kind of quiet and sound good.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going to do some stuff where I'm going to try to sit down. I was thinking about some things, so we could spitball some of this stuff because we're going to be meeting up with Chris for a lot of the weekend Displaced Gamer channel. And I was like, what about sitting in one of these rooms and doing like a dry ripoff of like Zach Galifianakis Between Two Ferns? Only like between two tubes and put like CRTs there and just do like a stupid intro, like basically ripping off that shtick.
Sure.
And then after like 30 seconds of that, then go into where we just sit down and talk about some stuff as like a conversation like we're doing at the show. Cause he and I was like, pay attention to things. Cause he just went to
this last week at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. So he flew from there. He was at Connecticut. And so we've been talking about like the market, right, of like retro games already at Connecticut. We're like, oh, what's going on here? This is all ridiculous.
Right, we were talking about it last week on the
exactly. So I've been talking with him just as much about it. So I'm like floating this idea. I'm like, go out there and just start paying attention to prices and seeing if anybody's actually buying stuff, seeing if people are actually spending their money. And so he was like, yeah, great. And I was like, let's sit down and try to talk about this. We'll look at Nashville. And then we could talk about 3 different things and like what the convention scene, and that's like all across the country, right? You got East Coast, West Coast, middle of the country. So that's be a cool, just random discussion about that, about the market of sales of video games that we saw. And
I think, pay attention to what's on the table, because I was reading some tweets this morning talking about sellers who are like, NES and Mega Drive not moving anymore. It makes a difference, right? What they're saying, what's left on their tables at the end of the conference, that there are systems that are moving quickly and it's not. So it would be interesting to pay attention to what's mostly still out at the end of the day, at the end of the conference.
That's I actually liked seeing that like tweet be spread around about how NES games weren't moving, because Chris like specifically collects NES games, so he's been going to the last. That's all he's really been looking at is NES games. So he would be a guy that should have a good perspective on whether this stuff's actually moving or not. And because I'm honestly, I don't really buy a lot of NES games anymore or anything, so that might be true. I don't know. It's not really something
I'm really
that I
struggling
buy a lot
to actually. It's remind me of something. Our good friend Roger, I was telling him about going to Japan. We were talking about it, and his first kind of thing came to was like, "Why don't you buy a twin Famicom so you can play Famicom Disk System?" And I'm a chest beating alpha retro collector, right? So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get the FDS system so I could be legit." And then I started, and I've been to Japan a bunch of times, and I bought 2 different FDS systems. One, I think I've ruined the disk drive. The second one, I can't replace the belt on. I haven't had it go recently. It's really hard to calibrate the belts and stuff. And it was one of those platforms that Mister just took away for me. That I thought about the money that I was going to have to get an FDS system, those really nice twin Famicom ones that take both, really cool. I've already got a nice Famicom joystick already. I've got original Famicoms. And to do the disk system stuff, and then I saw the games on the disk system, and then how they fail all the time because it's magnetic disk. And I was like, I don't know if I want to get into this pit hole of money. And not only that, because there's an interesting hybrid when it comes to the Famicom disk system. Because we all like, so regular would be Famicom disk system, and then disk goes in Famicom disk system, right?
Yes.
But what you can do, the way that the Famicom disk system connects to the Famicom is with this black cartridge adapter, and it plugs in the top, right? And that makes the plug over to the disk. The thing is that you can get these emulators that emulate the disk ejection size, the disk drive side. And you still need a Famicom, and you still need the black adapter that goes into the cartridge, but then that just plugs into like a little dongle no bigger than a USB stick. And it's like this hybrid emulation system. It's half real hardware, but you're emulating, I guess, the really difficult, mechanical, prone to failure part. And I think I'm good. I think I'm fine to leave my original hardware Famicom system there.
That's a very interesting point, and I think that it's a good one to talk about. That there are some things that I think that each person in this hobby will have that you have the one top, and then maybe like the top 5, maybe obscure consoles that you're interested in the long term collecting on for, and that could be anything. It could be like, I have nothing from this one, and I just want to try to find. It's like CDI. I'd just love to try to find a console somewhere and not have to like go buy it on eBay or anything. I don't really want to have like that. I'd love to have, the opportunity to just randomly have a story about it. But or a Jaguar, right? Those are 2 that never owned, never. But then there's some systems that I think with other people it's not the same way. So you might, like you say, at the expense of trying to get all the original stuff to do what you're talking about, it's almost like that has to be your number 1 to number 3 thing to be so passionate that you need to have the whole shebang working. And it's like that was something that's really powerful to you growing up. Whereas instead of just, like you say, if you want to try it, thankfully we do have the Mister now and all these other ways. I mean, it looks like the analog, I don't even own one of those, the analog pocket too. People are just using those two things to be able to give options for these
on the go.
These older school retro games.
The Mister
incredible.
If you wanted to, my little ditty about half emulation, you could invert that scenario, and that would be Mr. Famicom, but using a snack adapter with an original Famicom joystick, and you got a nice original one, and it's from Japan and all that shit. And so then you've got, well, I'm feeling a real experience there, but I don't need to buy the full system. I'm still getting some level of the real experience because I'm playing it on a genuine stick. Famicom stick from back in the day. So I guess we've got like these multiples of choices in how we want to enjoy our hobby, and not only how do we want to enjoy it, but then which bits do we want to buy, and then what's that level? Because you said Jaguar, right? If one was presented to me, I would take, but some bloke's trying to sell one locally for $200, just the console, and I'm like, I'm not willing to put down $200 for the Jaguar. Would you put down $200 for the Jaguar? How much is it worth?
I might put down that would probably be the most I would want to put down for it. But so that's great. See, like there's two things there, but the gateway drug for all this is like the Mister, right? It gives you such a great what the exact experience could be like, because it's all got this wonderful breakdown into code, and then using the FPGA to do the hardware emulation, so that like the experience you're getting from that Mister core is as close to like a good system as possible, so you can go down that rabbit hole and see, well, what do I think of this system? I don't know. And then you could go try it on the Mister, and then, wow, do I want to go and become the big into this thing? It might become that. So it is kind of like your gateway into that. The tougher thing, the thing I always get is the things that the Mister can't or not doing right now yet, right? So, but it's getting so much better. I mean, the idea that it can do Saturn stuff, and I haven't even been able to do that yet because I haven't had the time. But I haven't even had time to use the PlayStation X core. But it's just so incredible to think that it keeps unlocking like a new level.
I'm very excited. Hotego has been talking this week about beginning work on the CPS3. And I know that means, again, we never mean to put any pressure on creators, but absolutely I'm excited that if there was a possibility to put Third Strike on a Mister and get an authentic Third Strike experience, that might have the ability to really shake up the, what's growing, what's still the embers that are still glowing in the Third Strike scene. There's a possibility to maybe reignite them a little bit to have this small device that plays cycle accurate Third Strike.
Yeah, it's definitely, I know, something that a lot of people are clamoring for and want to see, and it would be so much better to have, again, the accessibility that the Mister unlocks, where it's just like you almost take for granted. Even think about pre-Mister. You wanted to play NES games. You want to play all of them. The closest to get to the real hardware thing is buying a Crix cart and loading it with whatever you want and putting it in real hardware, and then either using it straight as it is, however you want to do, into an old TV, or trying to get that RGB experience up to a PVM or BVM. For years, the best way was to go in and do that, and that was an entry cost that was more than the cost of a Mister is right now.
Sure.
Right? So you kind of take for granted that, now that encompasses so many of those little, and that's why a lot of us have like these cabinets filled with a dozen consoles and a Crix cart, and they're all these $600 to $800 machines pretty much that have just sat there. And now if we really want to do a Mister.
I'm into console collecting, I think, more than game collecting, more than saying I love to have the games that I like on the console, and then I'm all right. Like, I don't need to kind of keep on going. So for me, it's always been more interesting to have a physical Dreamcast, and then I don't need to have all the Dreamcast. I'm really just good to have a copy or a SD loader or something like that. Just about where I want to put my limited finances in this. I was more likely to sink it into hardware. And then Mr. has scrubbed, I guess, with our Famicom Disk System example, Mr. has scrubbed off a little bit of that again. And I think that's where I'm at with the PC Engine. Wait, is that the American TurboGrafx? What do you call it in the States? TurboGrafx.
Yeah, TurboGrafx and TG16, TurboGrafx 6, whatever. And because
that wasn't a big thing in Australia.
PC Engine. Yeah,
I knew about it from all the magazines.
Where I grew up, it was not particularly as popular as it was in some areas of the United States, unfortunately. Like, I didn't know really much about it till I got into the retro gaming scene later on either.
So I think because I've mostly come into it later, I love playing it on the Mister. Love it. And I play with a real nice, play Star Soldier with a super nice joystick. And that's how I'm having that PC Engine experience, where I appreciate if you had that console as a kid, they might even prefer to play them on the pad just because that's where they learnt that muscle memory as a kid. So interesting. It even matters when you pick up a system as to the feelings and drive and magnetism that you might have to buy it in what form depends on maybe how you first played it. I don't know.
Well, did you ever, so with that, have you had any interest or like you find yourself looking for the console, or do you have one, or
I don't have anything PC Engine. Don't have anything. I've seen it a lot when I'm in Japan. And honestly, I don't think up till a couple of years ago, I didn't really know much, didn't really look into the console much myself. So I know when I go to Japan, I could probably set aside $100, $150.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And just get a console and really pick up some Hue cards and get a nice collection in Japan for $150. And then I guess my little frugal little brain kicks in and you go like, but you can do that on the Mister, bro. Why just on the Mister, man? You don't need to spend that $150. Buy the what I want to buy. Yeah, the Virtua Stick Pro 2 for Saturn. You know, the 2-player big ass. Do you know there's a 2-player big ass fight stick for Sega Saturn? And I so badly want one of those. It's going to be about $250 or $300, and I think it's too big for a suitcase. So I may even need to pay for extra,
for
like
shipping?
$50 for shipping on it.
And then you got to pay VAT.
I don't know. But that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I gotta pay fucking VAT. You're right. If I don't bring it in, if I bring it in myself, I don't need to pay VAT. But I want it like. Oh, I want that joystick so bad.
I'm sure you could check it as an extra bag, right? You could check it.
Yeah, I'll find a way because I like
that'd probably be the most economical.
Yeah. I like a stick. I like the steering wheel, and that is the biggest, baddest controller you could get, and I want it.
Yeah, and then like, so a solution for the TurboGrafx thing or the PC Engine thing is like, you're right. Don't spend $150.
Maybe. Yeah.
See if you could get like just like something. See what the cheapest console that is one of those you could find, and say if it's $40, I'm not leaving it there, right?
Yeah,
Instead, say like that, and then like if you find that, then say I'm going to find the cheapest one game or two to go with it, and just to get it tested and going.
That is an absolute point. I'll find it'll be all fucking sun bleached, you know what it is, needs the retro brighting. But I'll find one for $10 in Japan, no problems. Probably I can use the same power plug. I can for something else. So you're right.
Yes, you can. You can get it from like Genesis Mega Drive power supplies will fit in it, and I traded for mine. I never bought one. I got just the console, and I traded for it with with an EverDrive, and then. It was from my friend Matt, who owns Insurrection Industries. He had the prototype for his spark plug, and it was just one of his like 50. He had like 20 test models, and I was like, "Oh, let's trade me one of those in this deal." And he's like, "Sure, yeah, I've got 20 of them." And so it just does RGB straight out of it's like a plug-in adapter.
Okay,
so it's cool to turn on, but I have like very little affinity to this system, and. Like you say, it's easier for me to go and try to play. It doesn't have a lot of buttons. It's easier for me to go try to play it on the Mister on the arcade or something. It fits on that. And then as opposed to like, I just get that out for primarily shots and video shooting to show something different besides Super Nintendo.
Yeah, we're all showing
on real
that little
hardware.
Super Nintendo Junior. Yeah, that's your favorite
it's
one.
like some other ones. Like I gotta have a couple of different things.
That and the Mega Drive. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Mega
they're
Drive
just common. It's just whichever one of the two I'm actually using, which is always the SNES. It seems like. So
what do we do? Let's go on. Let's move on. Let's talk about your video this week, Steve.
Oh, yeah, okay.
eBay selling. So if I understood, I watched the video. The premise is it's getting harder and harder to find a good deal on eBay. Not only to find a good deal, to find a reputable seller, someone you can trust. There's so many people just trying to push them out there, and they'll say anything because, hey, yeah, it worked before it left and such things. So you were trying to make a video to highlight this and educate. It's just kind of where we're going right now. And no doubt, this is a topic that I knew it. I knew this video was going to get wider attention. I knew this was going to go beyond just, our niche. And it sounds like you got some interesting feedback on the video.
Yeah, it was. I had talked to you. It's kind of funny. I had these videos filmed for quite a while, and then it was a couple weeks even before my trip. I told you I had them, and I was like, I know kind of how these videos are going to go, and I know this eBay one, I can make it in a way that it will get a wider attention than normally. Because let's face it, it was pretty much an unboxing video of a PVM, which, I do plenty of those. I've done probably 15 of them. I don't know exactly how many over the years. And if I just label that kind of as a, a PVM unboxing, I'll attract the hardcore audience, which I love. It's great. But at the same time, I'm trying to think of how to make this one different than the other ones, and also bring new perspective. And now it's not just an unboxing. Usually there's some kind of little different repair that will be in the video that it's not. So it's also like, well, there's actually this repair going on that you could possibly learn about. And in this most recent one, and then this whole year, it's been kind of like a shit show on eBay for the most part. And the reason, people were defending eBay, defending the sellers and defending the process. And that's fine. The whole point of this video is not so much, and I don't believe this is the company of eBay's problem or fault. The thing is, no matter what you do, your chances of having a fulfilling transaction of buying a shipped PVM from eBay, I believe the odds of it just being like as you expected, it's like half
lower
or less. 40% is a good number, right? So like that means that if I'd only do one transaction, there's a little bit better than half coin flip that I believe that you're going to have something show up broken, or even in my case where I had something that was packed in a way where it was probably near impossible to really damage it in that last video. However, it's listed as being perfectly working, and it comes with issues that if I just bought that off the eBay, I would have no idea what was going on with it and how to get, for example, it was in remote mode. So if it's listed as fully tested by a seller and it's in a remote mode, how they didn't fully test it. They don't know what they're talking about because remote mode locks out 3/4 of the menu. So that right away is kind of like, well, okay, they didn't really know. So there's that. And then, it was the discoloration on the screen that was beyond, the actual ability to clear up with a degausser built in, and those have good degausers, but it wasn't strong enough. So
at least you got some of that cool footage of the degausser,
right? Yeah,
this one,
and that's what I was really thinking about the whole time, because I was like, I bet if I get a really cool shot with this, I could get it to Mason, and he can make it flare out, and he could make it look really good for a cool thumbnail. And so
to me, in that video, you were telling a story, and there was two things. Like, you can do an unboxing. You're right. I can just do an unboxing video, done and done. And I can just do a video over here where I sit and talk to a camera and give you my opinion on eBay prices, which, in my opinion, working in this industry, it's a 40% or whatever it is right now. And all you did was combine them into one video and go, hey, I'm going to unbox, and one video, one TV, good or bad, is not an indication of a market. your experiences are what's like the unboxing is just to have something interesting to be in front of us while you're telling this story of your experiences. I don't think no one's saying, and I know you're not saying, oh, this one TV means everything's fucked. No,
it's just it's example. It's a it's like an exact example of what happens, and it's not like that. Like, I don't know where that falls on the spectrum. For me, the spectrum's bigger. Like, it could show up with some issues, right? So I know that sounds weird.
Trying to say you're on the spectrum still,
right? Yeah, there we go. So I opened myself up to that one. So yeah, like if you're like just a normie that doesn't know a whole lot about PVMs, and that's just like 99.9% of the world, and you want to get one, and you go through what I went through, and you got what I got, and you had those issues, you could be just as upset. Like, what did I do? I can't get this thing to work, and then maybe you get that to work, and then you're like, how do I clear up this purity issue? And it's never going away unless you take it to get it serviced. So it's like if I was someone who didn't know, whereas for me, I find that and I'm like, oh, this is good, this is actually cool, this is an example, this helps me more than if it was just in perfect condition. I can actually fix this easily because I have the tools and the knowledge, and it'd take me 2 minutes and I can film it, and all that can happen. And see, even at the end of the video, I explained that I will still continue to buy PVMs off eBay. And I just want people to be kind of in a mindset, if they're going to, it doesn't hurt that they see these examples and kind of hear the experiences more than just Googling and seeing what shows up. At least
let the buyer beware.
A little bit.
Be careful.
And that you need to be prepared that this thing is going to need some level of servicing, that if nothing's been done to it to this point, because these are old machines now. It's like almost impossible.
And to me, it's a reflection of the marketplace, that the market is here, that it's gone through this phase. We get them for a while. And now we're at the phase where there's a bunch of stuff on the market, but every dodgy Joe and his dodgy mate have now found whatever PVMs they could find in whatever condition and are just like sell, because that market is so hot, which means now we need to be more careful. There's a lot of stock available, but we can't guarantee, before in the past, there was more likely to not have a flipper or someone trying to just make a quick buck or something like that. So yeah, you've just got to, it's just a reality. I think it's an absolute reality, and just beware. Don't not do it, but really take care.
Yeah.
Maybe get some advice or something, get on some forums, do the best you can. It's always very hard. I mean, you see that picture, is like, is this PVM all right? Be like, well, a bit hard to tell, but here's the questions. You research the questions you should be asking the seller. If it's a reasonable amount of money, maybe you want to talk to him first. At least, hey, if I'm going to give you $500 on eBay, I would like to have at least email discussion with you about this product. I'd like you to answer these 3 questions, polite questions about that, and before I give you 500 of my hard-earned monies.
And it doesn't. It really. It's like it doesn't matter sometimes. Like when I went and I recently had bought. This was pretty interesting. Since that video, I had bought another one. A 1353 MD PVM, and so you get this. I found it. I made an offer to where the total shipped with tax came out to be $405, and I was talking to this person. It was right. I bought it, and they accepted my offer like right when I was about to go out of town to Florida, and I was like, I don't want them to ship this while I'm out of town, and they're not. And I was like sending them messages. And even with my offer, I said, I need you to not send this. If you accept the offer, please wait till Friday of the next week. If they accepted, they didn't respond. I sent them 2 or 3 messages throughout the week. They wouldn't respond. I had to wait till eBay was like, we're going to cancel this transaction on Friday if you don't pay by like midnight. So I waited till after business on Friday and I pay it. Well, Monday comes around and the company sends me a message saying, we're sorry, your tested 1353, the tube, it only shows red now. And we tested it to ship, and it's not showing. That's the only message they sent me out of like 5 I've sent them. And they said, we can give you a partial refund and offer you this Panasonic 14-inch black and white monitor we have. And I said...
Get the fuck out of here.
I know. No, the only thing I said was, no, I want a full refund. And that's the only thing I said to them. And they sent me my money back, And funny enough, I found a 14L2. I made an offer and got it for $395, and it's shipped, and we're waiting for it to arrive right now. So I'm still buying these things. And I think the catch on this video was a couple things. Like you said, the creative photo on the thumbnail. I know that was a good thumbnail compared to a lot of thumbnails I've ever had on videos. Because I got direct feedback from people. Like, I sent this message to Mason, and let me see if I can find the actual picture. So I don't know. While I'm looking at that,
imagine that first one that you did that got like 100,000 views with the huge ass one.
Yeah, right.
If Mason had done the thumbnail for that, it would be off the charts. You would have got to 1 million if you've done that easily. Not 115,000.
Yeah. So this was just one of the comments that somebody I never commented said, just wanted to say that the thumbnail for this video is awesome. Super well composed and balanced. The visual is super interesting and bright. And the text is perfectly readable and bold. Didn't want it to go unappreciated.
Nice.
And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I clipped that in a picture, and I sent Mason a DM, and I said, I found your alt YouTube account. No. And I was like, no, man, I just want to say I know that it's like really good, and I don't know if anybody ever shows you that kind of stuff, but it was really cool to actually see somebody else besides me appreciate it. So that was part of it, was that. And of course, trying to be clickbaity a little bit with the wording, right?
You got to be a little bit sometimes. And look, who's to blame you, Steve? Because the world has taught you now that if you do that, you get a few extra clicks. Monkey see, monkey do here, right? Like, as much as you don't want to do it.
in front of the cart.
Yeah.
I'm the stupid donkey just chasing the carrot.
Yes. What lesson are you supposed to learn from this?
I got closer to the carrot this time, everybody. Look.
Yeah. Yes. Not all the time, not every time, but sometimes with the right video, we're going to be a little bit more clickbaity.
Yeah, exactly.
Show business, baby. Show business.
You don't want to have a video that's like overly technical be your clickbaity one a lot of times, especially if it's talking about stuff that's over people's head.
Sure.
Which is funny. I had some people that came to this video that, again, left comments like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? Because I'm sure I'm up there like, a CRT Sony PVM that you buy on eBay, and look, this is a 14M2 with RGB, and we're going to do SCART and B and C. And they're like,
dude, you're the worst 80s rapper.
Exactly. Like, what is the hell?
MC Nutter. I got my PVM and a BVM. Yo.
I think we just found the new premise for the first ever spoof retro tech music video, Lewis. There we go. Everybody on YouTube used to make videos like this. So beware, community. You're on notice if you get your wig split by Steve
is the whitest rapper in the house.
Yeah, his mad libs. So yeah, definitely. I've lost my train of thought.
The eBay thing anyway. So some people were coming along and they.
Oh yeah.
That's good. That's what you're gonna get. So again,
they're like, what the hell is this guy even? What are these acronyms? And so I'm just laughing. I'm like, well, I mean, thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by and leaving a comment. And then other people were like, you're a complete idiot. This is a good thing. You're doing good. What are you supposed to do? And I'm like, man, it's just trying to bring an attention to like what your experience can be to play, kind of give you the roundabout, thing. So, most videos don't get that kind of attention because I guess they don't have that amount of reach. They don't get that many people watching them that are like, who is this guy? Why is there a flashy, beautiful thumbnail in front of me that I want to touch? I guess.
I think for some people, it can play into a FOMO and a feeling, so that if there's something that you really want, but you just know, I'll never get that. And it's all relative, right? We have PVMs around here, so this is never going to be a feeling for us. But maybe it's the Panasonic Q GameCube, right? That silver one from Japan in a box that you'll just never get. There's just no chance in your lifetime you'll get. But when the news comes out and says, you know how you had no chance before? You have even less chance now. Less chance than nothing. And that, can be taken the wrong way, and that can confront our feelings sometimes. So you're an idiot, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like some of the consequence, some of the interesting things behind that. I'm surprised I had nobody comment about the stupid singing I did at the end of the video with Brutus. And I was laughing with my kids one time, just messing around, recording myself singing dumb and singing like 4 parts of that song. And so I put that at the end, and no one said anything about it. I was laughing. So I've been putting weird shit at the end of the videos, like the Black Widow spider right now. So I'm like, who's actually like watching all the way through? And then surprisingly, I would get like 5 comments about the Black Widow spider. So I'm like, oh yeah, well, people are watching all the way to the end. And so like I have the next video has something at the end, same thing. So I keep trying to get these little things that are just weird, that I'm just like, holy crap, what's happening here? And I just film it for 30 seconds. So that's kind of like the end of the video. So I've been trying to add some spice like that. But the real chemistry was trying to concoct an interesting method of releasing this video and trying to get it as much traction,
I tell you what, Steve. So I see where you're going with this, and we do want to talk about thumbnails and live and all that. Let's get into that. Let's take a 5-minute break. I'm gonna go get myself a bit more water, and we'll do that. We'll be back in a moment.
Last time you didn't cut this section.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it was just like the hangout of like me just sitting there, which was fine, but I was like, oh, thank goodness I didn't like mumble anything stupid.
Too hard. Okay, cut. I've written a big note on my notepad. Cut middle section. All right, I'll get a drink. Okay. Interesting. I just saw that Antonio Villena, the seller of the Mr. Extras here in Europe, so he's now constructed an adapter based off Mike Simone's YC cores. So Mike finalized the design for the dongle to be used with his new YC cores. And once that was finalized, then apparently Antonio has taken it, but he has adjusted, he has updated it apparently. It's not 100% Mike's thing. I've got to double check that. But the implication I got from Mike is that Antonio's updated it for his own thing, and then he's selling it a version. And because I was about to say to Mike, hey, I'll just get one from Antonio because I need to get one of these adapters, right, to test it out. And Mike can send me one from Canada, but then it's got to come from Canada, right? So it's a bunch of money for Mike. And then when you bring it into the European Union, I'm going to have to pay 20% on it and prove the value of what the fuck is this adapter. And I'm going to, what is this? Please fill the check down box. Well, it's a video, analog, like what the... So I was like, I'll just get one from Antonio, but now I got to check, like, anyway, what's going on with that situation.
That's cool. That's a cool update there.
What's going on? So we were talking about, do you want to go back into what we were previously talking about?
We could jump right back to that if we want to. Back to, like, I was thinking of an interesting way to kind of set it up.
So we were going into... So we're talking about 2 things we want to get into in this topic. One is live streams. We really want to do a live stream next week. And we're just thinking about like the little content and just how to stick together. It is a little bit of what do we do, right? Do we just turn on the mic and do the same thing and take questions? Let's at least talk about it. But then there's also the question of how to promote and how to these thumbnails. We've been talking a lot because you and me both are using Mason now. We're trying to step up our thumbnail game, improve over time. And now you've discovered this other thing that I had no idea about, this small Premiere entry clip thing that you mouse over and it shows you, like you choose now, it's not just a random clip, it's like you choose to upload that and you've uploaded like a genuine little promo, and I've never seen that functionality before until you showed it to me. Is it really new?
It's relatively new, and this is kind of like the way I wanted to put this. So, we're all trying to make YouTube content, and then there's these ideas that we're going to have to try to make something, and it's like we're in the kitchen and we're trying to cook up some kind of recipe, and do we want to have this like a really good recipe? Well, maybe we should go talk or watch some other cooks that are bigger that have already done something. And I stumbled. Like, I always watch this guy's videos when he talks about like beating the YouTube algorithm because it's funny and it's interesting. And many people probably have heard of this because it's a multi-million channel. I think it's this. I think it's the Spiffing Brit or something. And he goes and then so his most recent one was kind of talking about the Premiere feature and also like for live streams and the notification feature. And then how he would kind of use this to try to get more and more attention, and he would see, and he's really comical, and it seems ridiculous because he's got a huge channel, but he's like, oh, we did this and we got like these ridiculous views for our premiere. And so I watched the whole video and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting, so I'll go check this out. I haven't done a premiere, goodness, since it was like made available, and I might have tried it once or something. There really wasn't much planning to it. But this time I got it on there and I started looking at it. I had that video ready and I was like, well, maybe I'll try what this guy said and I'll try to do something. And one of the things he was like, all right, so the first thing we tried it at a 48-hour period, right? Where your channel puts up that, what you saw, it says notification, right, of an upcoming video. And I think the furthest maybe you could do is 2 days out.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It might not
no,
be.
I think you can do more. I feel like I've seen a week, but okay.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think you're right. So anyway, this guy was like, we tried 2 days out, and then he's like, look, we did get some notifications where people were told and they clicked on it, and then, later down the line, it did translate into some views. But then he was starting to say that, like to fine tune that, he went to his YouTube graphics of his statistics, and it's like YouTube will tell you when the vast majority of your audience during the daytime, it'll give you a hot bar in the analytics where it says the majority of your people are online during this time period. So I was like, okay, and this is what he says. So it's okay. So we're going to time it right at this peak time period for the premiere of whatever it is.
Okay,
so that's why I was like, okay, so that's what I was like. All right, 11 o'clock. That's like right when this peak hour starts kicking off between like 11 and 2 p.m. So let's do that. And then there's something about like the fact that you go back and only wait to get the premiere ready till only 2 hours before then. So I released the premiere notifying it at 9 a.m. that morning. So 2 hours prior to it coming out.
There's some time for it to cycle.
And
through
that
the
way, well, not
algorithm
just that, like the algorithm really pushes it for that first 2 hours to your audience, and then it comes out. Right. And then it's getting pushed by the normal momentum of it being out. So it's kind of like, instead of it pushing it out really hot and then like nobody looks at it for a while and then the video comes out, it's almost, I feel like maybe playing off some of that momentum so that you're catching more clicks at the beginning. And so I did that premiere. I took a chunk of the video, which I thought was the most interesting. Again, the thumbnail, right? If you click on the thumbnail and you see that, the gauze, and that's what you see right away for the first
the clip.
Remember for the trailer. So what it does is you set the premiere and it lets you upload a trailer, which is a different video that you just have to like edit and upload
separate thing.
as a separate thing. And so I just I went back to my master cut and I just cut out that little section and then put it over and made a 20-second clip of just
That's really cool. Of the best bit, right? That's what a trailer's literally meant to do. Show the best bits of the movie to get you to watch the movie because you're like, oh, it's full of all this shit. And of course, you show the most interesting bit. Yeah, man. It's cool.
So I went and I did all that little extra work. And then I set the premiere. I had the trailer and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so it did tell me that in that first 2 hours, it gives you an impression. So it would say that like, this went past almost 1,000 screens impressions in that first 2 hours, and it got clicked on for trailers 90 times, for example. Okay? So that's that first click-through rate. Then it finally, and then I also went on Twitter, and I said, hey, and other places, I said, hey, if you want to come hang out for the premiere, I'll be there and chat in a live chat for this video. I'll be there. So come on, hang out. And I did have... so I was in there and I was able to monitor the chat, and now eBay will tell you how many people come in at like the peak of that live style video.
You can see analysis of the live and then see how it went in that time.
And I was pretty surprised for not doing anything like that. There were 60 was the number it got up to.
Right, that's nice.
So
it's good.
I was like, wow. I mean, I was really blown away kind of.
Those steps make it when you like, I don't mean to just be like, oh, wow, you heard an expert on YouTube? You must have all the answers. But with this stuff of fine-tuning for the algorithm is such a dark art. And there's no university you could have gone to really learn this better. We're just guessing what an algorithm wants. So that advice sounds as good as any to me. I'm like, cool. I wouldn't know what the hell to do. So I'm like, sounds pretty reasonable. They all sound like logical things. Yeah, okay. I'll do those things.
Well, and that's what I thought. I was like, well, this is worth a try just to see what happens, right? So I was like, yeah, that's worth a try. But see, I didn't even go to like the full extent that this other guy had done. He would build it over time by going, and there's a company that you can pay a little bit of money to each month. You know, one of these companies that tells you all the keywords that are trending at that moment on YouTube. And it's just this weird stuff I've never even heard of most of the time. And so he's like, we use this trending with like the premieres. And by doing that in that little premiere like trailer setup, it pulls over so many people that are flagging these keywords and pulls them over to a live stream about
something. So the trailer's just got to be like you yelling, CRT, BVM.
I don't know. Like
RGB, BNC. Just say every
and
keyword.
Try to connect that into, well, see, but those aren't keywords for like
retro.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but see, I've never even used anything like that or thought about like buying a company that finds the keywords. But that's what all these other people are doing to try to push themselves into a next level of what's working and what's not. And so I kind of commend this guy for talking about it.
Maybe if your topic's more general, it would be interesting to know how niche of a topic can you get down to where that kind of stuff doesn't work anymore because there's just not enough people in that. You know, it sounds like usually they're more broader YouTubers, right? Talking about more broad, the entertainment industry, some other thing.
Probably.
Not retro
more. But again, that's maybe where you get the story and they're like, well, I don't know what happened. I just started watching this thing and I was like, whoa, you know, that's why you're trying to make something in there appealing. I don't know. So there's that whole, you know, there's this whole thought pattern that then starts coming out of my head, even just from what I did, because now it's been a couple days since this video's been out. And surprisingly, as of this point, it's gotten to like the number one out of the last 10 in analytics, which includes the videos that have gotten to over 12,000, 15,000 views, which is like a higher end view video now for me. I'll have those. And then I'll have the ones like I would normally do of this video that would get like 3,000. And so I was like, holy moly, you know, this is actually kind of working. This whole, maybe it's just, it's hard to say, right? What exactly was it? Because you know that you kind of thought it was going to do good. Right. But are doing these extra little things helping it? How much is it going to help it in the long run or what?
And how much does it help it now? The algorithm is also an evolving thing. That means this trick, this tactic, this method is not guaranteed to continue working in the future. And you have to be constantly aware of this. Like, oh, that's not the thing we need to do or so much. Or that's not the thing I can't rely on anymore. That's just got to be there now. Of course, we always have a trailer. What do you mean you're not going to have a trailer? It'd be like going, what do you mean you don't have a thumbnail? Yes, some artistic dudes don't have a thumbnail because they want to look like, but generally everybody has a thumbnail, right? Like maybe one day we'll say that about trailers and then, you know, more and more.
Yeah. Or maybe it just becomes something that doesn't matter down the road.
Or maybe it doesn't matter, right? So you got to be on the
disappears.
lookout. Yeah.
So it's always like an evolving thing. Like you're trying, and that's the thing. That's probably one of the best creative things maybe about being on YouTube is trying to use your brain around these things and maybe seeing if any of this actually makes any difference. And thankfully, you do get a lot of analytics back on this stuff where you can almost pinpoint results a little bit. So, I mean, how this relates to what we're talking about now is then you at the same time that this was coming out, we're talking about doing a live show. And I was thinking, oh, well, if we do a live show, you're right, let's do it. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to kind of do what I did like there, to like try to invest a little bit more in the building up to the show and seeing kind of like how that works out. Okay. And then I feel like once you do it once, it makes it easier after that. You get used to it, right?
Sure. What's our format? Let's at least go through what we're going to do in this. Like in the show,
so,
right? What are we going to do in the show? Are we just going to switch on the live stream and talk?
So the best thing for successful is going to be some type of promotional ahead of time.
Well, and if like just to make sure that people know what's going on. So
sorry, we're still talking about promo. I thought we were talking about content of the live stream.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. Like I meant like promo for this live stream.
Right.
For this live stream, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we do give it some time. I mean, you're the master of promotion here. Like you're just getting working last week with promotion. So
sure,
we want to promote it a little bit so people like that want to be here know it's going on.
Okay,
right?
so then we'll do a thumbnail. We're going to put something together to make it stand out a little bit. Mason can probably do up something nice. And then maybe in the middle of this content that we've just talked about here or something, there's a clip, right? There's something that introduces it. And I don't know. We'll give that little trailer. That doesn't. I'm working Thursday, Friday the whole day. But then I've still got the weekend. And as you said, okay, so here's the next one, Steve. For the live, do you think, who knows, do you think we should put out notification 24 hours or 2 hours before?
Oh, so here's what I would say. So again, with the promotion stuff, we could have a lot of these things ready and kind of use them on other social media platforms and save that premiere thing for the YouTube thing, right? So we'll do the same kind of two-hour game, but maybe we could, for a couple days even, if we know the show's going to happen, we can get on Twitter and I get on my Discord, promote it on Patreon, say, hey, it's going to be this week. It's going to be on this day. We won't say when. We'll just say, be ready for a notification to show up within a couple hours of when it's going to go live, because we don't know what could happen. Setting up live streams a little bit you never know what something could happen.
I reckon you could probably even get down to the level of saying, hey, Tuesday morning. Watch
sometime,
out, something like that. It'll be sometime Tuesday morning.
We're going to try to go for those. Like I've got those peak hours for when our audiences are going to be on line, so we will try to target. Which really is kind of funny. It's really close to the time when we normally record anyway.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's the evening
really
for
the
me.
time.
It's the middle of the day for you.
Yeah.
I'm always free at this time, so yeah, if this is when people are on. So
right. So that's what I was like. The more I feel like
I said Tuesday. We always do Tuesday.
Yeah, I feel like the more we like prepare for that, or not, it's not even like a big preparation. We just decided to do this whole conversation like as part of the show.
Sure.
Like so like we were saying before. So we were like,
we're speaking to you, dear audience, right now.
Yeah, and we're like, so if you guys are listening and this actually interests you and you're still out here and you have any opinion, we'd love to hear it and put it down in the feedback and below, because I think it's kind of a fun topic to explore. Sure. And it's like something we can really try a couple things and see if there's any actual difference made, I think.
Right. So we want to have, definitely, I mean, it's audience feedback, right? I hope we're in the chat. So this will bring out a few things. I think for this is our first live stream. And now while it might seem like, well, a live stream's so easy, I think let's not complicate it too much for the first one and turn it into a Bob McNeil like RGB surgery or something where he opens up a whole monitor or something. Certainly, we'll have our own show and tell, no doubt in the live stream, hey, look at this thing. But let's not make it like one of those ones. All respect to those ones, they're very good. Like keep it simple. Let's not overdo the production on the first one. Keep it nice and sane. Audience chat, I guess, get some questions, ask some questions.
I feel like that, part of the promo could be, hey, come and ask questions from us. That's going to be our big promo. If anybody has CRT questions. And then maybe even as like a step further than this, we have a one-time email address set up or something. And we're like, hey, send us emails. That way, if we don't have anything, we could screen and have like 5 questions ready to go.
Sure, absolutely.
Or even like on Twitter, like I'll say, hey, put down your question, and there's like a really great chance that the question is going to get read live on the show, right?
Particularly, on your Twitter as well. A lot of good people,
like if we get
a lot
of
interesting people follow you.
It, right? So then
me not so much,
spread it.
but you a lot. So
we're all growing, right? We're trying to get there.
We're all growing. So that's a really good one as well. That. Yeah, getting from more than just the people that are around.
And then open it up to questions, obviously, as the show rolls. Sure. And then I believe that can really go into, you never know. This is good
because this actually segues into something really nice that I wanted to talk to you about. And it's good, let's have this discussion here so everyone also understands where we're coming from. So I appreciate we sent a mixed message to our audience. We said, Steve Nutter, hey guys, you got any questions about CRTs and stuff? Write to us. We're going to answer them. And then, people do, right? Some people have done that, but then they have some CRT technical stuff. and then I'm not sure what to do with them. Like, we have answered sometime on the podcast here, but my point is, Steve, we're hitting a wall. We're hitting a wall with what you can diagnose and do over an email, what you can do over that. And sometimes you've just got to have the thing in front of you to be able to work it out. And I fear that we actually can't service all of those requests, because then my next thing is, because it takes effort, right? It's going to take some effort to truly diagnose that. So then I say, mostly I'm like, hey, go over to Steve's Patreon, which I think is a fair thing. It's but basically then all I've said is someone's written to us and said, hey, help me with the CRT. And I'm like, go pay Steve money. That's also
that
not
doesn't sound
thing.
good.
I'm not trying to send that message.
Right. Well,
either.
and here's the thing. This is a good point to make up. A lot of things, if you're in a hurry, and if you really want to get a lot of questions asked and want a direct line of contact with me immediately, that's kind of the way this whole thing is. I have to, that's what I do for a living. So I have to try to be able to, and it's not, I don't feel like even just going on somebody paying $1 and getting some questions asked is really an unfair thing. But I understand the frustration that when we're putting it out here, this is all kind of extra stuff where it's like, I feel like this show, that if we could get into some kind of a rhythm for a live show, that would be a perfect opportunity, because there are going to be instances where we really will need to sit there and talk about one question for 5 to 10 minutes possibly.
Sure.
And it would be extremely helpful to that one person. But that, that 5 to 10 minute conversation, is not as easy to just go and say like, hey, can you give me this information from a question asked later on in the comment section to you, where it might be something, again, technically difficult, etc. And then, like, to be fair for me, I have to designate a huge portion of my time to the people that are paying for this stuff and this access already. And they've got a huge priority over everything. So again, we're taking our extra time to do this show to help. But also,
I think what I'm going to do,
the root of it is we want to be able to help people, and it's not like, oh, this is all just about, like you say, promoting my Patreon. It's just like, this is, I don't know. It's like anything where you this is an extra chance. If you get read on the air, come on. Again, if it's really, really important to you, we're going to try to give you a good opportunity, whereas you could get onto Twitter, tag one of us on a question. If we we'll put out an announcement again for the live show, say we're taking questions. Then we'll say, leave your question below, and the highest rated questions will be eligible to be read on the show. And so then you could go in there and you put your question right there and then show up for the show. And I would even imagine if somebody left a question that didn't get much reaction, but it's a good question.
Oh, sure. Absolutely, you would. Yeah,
we were on the show and they said, hey, I'm here. I asked this question. There's no way we weren't going to try to ask the question. So I feel like I know it's kind of tough ask, because times are different for people, and some people can't make it to the show on time or live like that. But I think ultimately you and I would love to have that kind of a thing going on.
That's great. I would like to do that. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I just feel bad because I wrote, we're going to answer your questions, and some people took their time. They got busy days, and they actually wrote an email, and then I'm like, no, we can't answer it. So I think actually what I'm going to do is just maybe add a line or two when I say write to us, be like, hey, please keep in mind that CRT questions are usually very difficult to diagnose on email, and we may not be able to help you with your more technical inquiry. I guess I just want to be clear to people. We're not promising that we can, all of a sudden fix all the things. Maybe for me, I don't want to waste no one's time. Well,
and there's a good chance. I tell these people this a lot that are on my Patreon that bring certain level of problems to me. There's chances I won't be able to fix a lot of it.
Even if you get the thing in front of you.
Yeah. I was like, the only thing I really guarantee is if you bring me a working one, I can pretty much restore it, right, to a great condition so it'll last long and you won't have problems down the road. Everything else.
That's an excellent point. It's a really good point.
Else, there's always could be something you don't understand, you don't know. It's always just did this actually work? Did the repair actually work? And 99% of the time it does. But then there's always that stubborn case of something that's just like a deeper issue that you just put on the back burner and are not able to figure out, or you have to go and tell the customer that, hey, this is the breaking point on this thing. It's like,
not everything is repairable. That's a good, it's not everything is going to be. Right. Maybe it's got some screen burn.
Or there's a proprietary part.
Sure.
That's impossible to find, that you pretty much have to find a donor part for. And so it's like, well, what are you going to do? You got this big CRT. It's just basically when I used to talk to Save on Pat, he used to love to, oh yeah, that's a real nice boat anchor. It's like, you just bought a $4,000 boat anchor, and like laugh. I was like, thanks. That's a good way of putting it, Pat.
Love this guy. Yeah. So we're going to do this live stream. We'll take questions. We'll talk a little bit, take some questions. It seems to work that it's, late morning. Your time is good for me as well. I'm excited. We got to match those schedules up. I got a few things coming up. In the thing, because I've in a couple weeks I'm going to Lisbon. We work for 4 days. I'm really looking forward to that. I only have to work like a day and a half out of 4 when I'm there. So that's a real nice getaway. Cool. And also for
how was your last trip to see Jimmy Carr that we had talked about last week?
So we did that. Yeah, we did that tour last week from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Jimmy's got a tour manager, a guy that flies with him, because what Jimmy does in his show, and I know I'm not giving away too many secrets here, but the way Jimmy does it is he's got a screen. So they insist we provide a screen, and I got the same tech crew, the same screen with the John Cleese video that I did where I showed that projector. So the boys came in, set the same screen, the same projector up that Jimmy instead. And Jimmy's got a tour manager that sits side of stage. And the side of stage manager comes with 2 laptops, one which is running the projector, and he puts his slides up and so forth. And incidentally, also, he travels with a rack mount Barco switch because he needs to like create a perfect. Sometimes he gets some terrible signal from the projector, and he was like, it's just worth it for us to have a Barco level switch because we absolutely can have zero can go wrong. This has got to so
it's like switch where it just basically shows a different entire
signal,
setup of the same thing, kind of like a backup,
some sort of backup. I think he can manipulate things from there as well, and he runs it all through that. Then he's got a second laptop. So the way that Jimmy Carr does his sets, if anyone knows Jimmy Carr, he does a lot of short, sharp jokes, really well written, down to the word. He's a real wordsmith, right? So you've got like hundreds of freaking jokes throughout a show, and sometimes Jimmy needs a prompt, so he actually has a teleprompter. And the way it works, though, is that it's built inside of a wooden case to look like an audio monitor. So it looks like from the back, it looks like a speaker, when actually it's just 3 sides of wood, and inside there's a screen and a prompter. And it's not like the full lines. He doesn't need that shit. He just needs like a prompt for the next bit, like one word or one thing, right? And then he's like, oh, boom. And then he goes through the next thing. And it's so cleverly done. And so the tour manager has a separate laptop that's controlling that screen as well. And that's run with like a friggin' 30-meter VGA cable back to his thing. So he has his Barco switch. Projector 1 does the screen. Laptop 1 does the screen. Laptop 2 does the his teleprompter down below. And that's what Jimmy does. And he's really simple. Like lights come on stage, he talks for 45 minutes, lights go down, break, he comes on stage, lights on him. There's nothing to a stand-up show. Anyone who's done theater, it's so much harder. So,
oh, you mean like a real production?
Real production. I mean, like lights
with
and sound,
and set pieces.
Yeah. Stand-up's the easiest. Light on, performer, done. So, we got Jimmy into Tartu. We did the gig there. In Tallinn, 1,700 seats there. That was totally sold out room, pack that night. Which apparently also, Tallinn's a small town, as I have talked about painfully and endlessly. But Placebo were on the same. Was it Placebo? I think it was Placebo. Were on the same night in the hockey hall, and we still sold out, even though Placebo were on in the same small ass
Hockey
town.
hall. I love.
So
the
we did
hockey
all
hall.
right. The hockey
The
hall.
hockey hall is like the big venue in town.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
awesome.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
it's
That's where I
so
saw
awesome.
Jordan Peterson there. I saw Jordan
Yes,
Peterson
that's right.
there, and I was talking about that. I don't like just looking at a screen from a distance. It doesn't give me much to
What,
do. And Jimmy was saying he also doesn't like. He's conscious of that, and he doesn't really want to do that sort of. He will if he has to, but he doesn't like performing in that thing either.
So that all went well, right? That's
yeah,
good.
man. 2 shows, and then we took the ferry over to Finland in Helsinki, and then we did 2 shows there. So he does an early show and a late show, and the dudes he does straight through. There's no break, so he does 90 minutes, 95 minutes, half an hour break or 45-minute break, then turns around and does another 95-minute show. The guy's unbelievably professional, and he just busts it out like. And then if anyone was like, "Oh, he's got a little teleprompter screen, what a pussy," like, nah, bro, he's busting out 2 times 95 minutes on a night of just like the shortest, most well-written jokes you've heard. So you can understand that's kind of part of his flow. So yeah, that was really cool. We got what did we do when we're getting on the ferry? The drug dog gave us a sniff, and I was really happy. They stopped us and shit. We were gonna be late, and I was like, and we get the toll, the customs stop us there, and the lady's just like, "Where, what are you guys doing?" And I was like, "Back comedian, I've got Jimmy Carr," like, and she's like, "Okay." And then they show us the passports. We got the dogs because we got a van, right? It's only 3 of us, but we've got a big van because that's all I could get. So we look like we're shipping drugs. Scooby-Doo and the gang is coming, and then I give him the passports, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, sir, I'm only speaking English." And then I give him 3 passports, and you hear the guy yell back to the other guy like, "Foreigners!" and because none of us are Estonian, but they were totally cool. It wasn't disrespectful. And then they brought the dog around. The dog's really cute. The dog sniffs. And I'm really happy that I decided sometimes you just have a little bit in your bag or something that you take with you as a little Scooby snack late at night. And I'm glad that I didn't take any Scooby snacks with me.
Yeah,
this was the day they brought the
something.
dogs out on us.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that was Saturday. Sunday I returned home, hadn't slept much, and I busted straight into Monday and Tuesday. So it's cool kind of rock and roll shit to do. And I like working with that. It's very interesting to listen to someone like Jimmy. Jimmy builds, if anyone knows his stuff, he built his career on telling edgy jokes. That's his thing, right? Sure. And pushes the boundaries. But I actually think he does it in a fairly intelligent way. Like, he's always usually got a reason, and I really like that cleverness in his act, and it's kind of fun just to talk to him, just for a few minutes, ask him just a few questions,
That's cool.
just to hear a few things. So it's really nice to hang out and talk with someone like that. So
I think
that's
really
I'm
awesome.
still like just came straight off that last week
just on the
calming down.
adrenaline.
So.
Yeah, that's fun. I was, interestingly enough, you were saying you were going to Finland, and then I saw somewhere where it was some kind of trivia question, and Finland was the #1 coffee drinking country, like in the world. Like per person, they drank more coffee than anywhere else. According
Did you
to
see
this
that tweet
trivia
that I
question.
made? Did you see
And
that
then
picture
you
that I
made
posted?
the tweet
Yes.
about the coffee. And I was always just like, oh man, I wonder if like Lewis is going and like indulging in some kind of weird coffee. And then you said something about, and I wanted to ask because I like, for me, I love, like, I drink a lot of coffee and I love it, but I always have to have I have drank it black and it's really difficult for me. I always need, like, my favorite is to just have half and half or some little bit of cream, and that's it. Nothing else. But you were saying in your tweet that you're not allowed to do that in Finland, and I was like, that would be like brutal to be in the best place for coffee, and then they'd be like, no, you crummy American, do not add that dairy product.
I say all this out of love to Finnish people. Like, they like, it's like, I don't want to say no milk. I was just making a joke, obviously. I don't want to say they're not into milk, but there's much more, like, it's hard, strong, black coffee is what they drink in Finland. And yes, sometimes someone puts some milk in, of course, but overall, it's not latte land. Like in Sydney, your coffee stand is out of business in 10 minutes and 5 seconds if you make a bad latte. You are done. No one is ever... This competition is that high in Sydney for a good latte. Finland is cold and dark and it's gloomy, and they take that shit strong and they drink it all day long. And the way that I have noticed of just being in Finland, and the way most people make it, like in the home or the office or something like that, where they're not going to a cafeteria, is the drip thing. The drip. You put the drip, right? The drip coffee that you put into the pot, right?
That's how I make my coffee.
And that shit is rocket fuel. That is one of, because it soaks. It sits there and just soaks through.
Yeah, I have a little just glass carafe that has a permanent filter, and I have 2 of them, and we sit there and just fill the thing with grinds, and I have a tea kettle, plug in electric kettle. That's how I make mine. And like you say, if you put like a strong coffee in there.
Yeah, they fucking do in Finland too. They fill that shit up, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you do that and it'll like it's like taking a straight hit off granddad's pipe, like full of that old school raw tobacco. It's like my lungs, I'm about to explode. Yeah. So, yeah, I was. That's why I heard that fact, and I love coffee, and I was just like, oh man, I need to.
So here's what I want to catch you on, Steve. Here's what I want to catch you on. When you were saying you kind of dropped the word, you said Finland's got the best coffee. No. Yeah, the most.
I don't think I said the best. The best.
You dropped best. Okay, you dropped best once.
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
The most.
Correction.
Most cups. Most number. And I think, look, maybe they have factored in strength into that, because when we're drinking our little latte in Sydney, it's not that strong. The little bit they have in the I'm having another coffee today. No, you're not like a Finnish person is having a coffee. It's like 3-in-1, definitely liters versus strength, right? They've got to be easily outpacing everyone else.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Like, so that kind of reinforces it's the fact that they use so much of the coffee and make it so strong that they like their community uses the most per person. Coffee beans.
Right. That was like the metric. Yeah.
Sorry, that's to clear the metric up. It was like per person, per citizen consumes this much amount of coffee beans in average per country, and Finland was the highest.
That's it.
So, yeah, that was it. So on a coffee question, a random silly coffee question for you, what's worse to you when you go and you get a cup of coffee and like you can see through it all the way, and it's like the best term I can come up for in America is called bowling alley coffee. Okay. And it's
weak coffee?
Super weak coffee, like it's almost like watered down tasted, or again, the Finland, I'd like to call it maybe like the Finland sludge, where it's like the boom, like again, knock you over taking sips of it.
I would say around this area, in this general area of the world, you're more likely to get option B. I'm struggling to think of when I've sent some black coffee in a pot or something like that and it's too weak. Tends not to be the issue around these parts. But I get what you're coming from back in Australia. I could imagine that happening at an old McDonald's or something like that. Before McDonald's got better with coffee, they was like those old, like those 80s Macca's coffees, right? That's the... Okay, that was where some crazy shit was happening.
Yeah, the bowling
cafe
came
thing
I could think of. It's just like you go over there and their carafes over there. See, the problem is my dad, that's the kind of coffee he would make.
Yeah, right.
And it drives my stepmom crazy. She's like, oh, you can't let him make the coffee. You can't let him make that bowling alley coffee. It just made me laugh. I would just love it. Because, again, he'd be like, let me make a fresh cup. And it's like, oh, my. You put, like, if you put like a dollop of cream in it, it all just becomes like, looks like a very beige milk, you know? It's like, what happened here? This is like, what am I drinking? So, anyway.
That's why I taught myself to drink black coffee, and I know a lot of people don't. And you were saying like you can't really, you will if you have to. But
right, you say you're in situations where if you want it, you have to. It's not that bad. I prefer that as opposed like I can't really do the sweet stuff. Like again, I like to. My preference would be like latte style, and then if I had to take it, it would be straight black or
in between those. Never with like the sweetened creamers and stuff. I don't really like that kind of stuff personally. That's just me. That's
I just trained myself to drink black.
Things.
It was just like easier to drink black coffee. So I'm like, my life will be easier if I don't hate this drink. And I forced myself to like it, and now I just forced it on myself for years. That's what I now drink.
It's like beer, It's like some beer. You're like,
I drink a shit beer because that's all I can get. A shit beer, so I'm gonna get used to shit beer. Yeah,
and now I love that.
I love shit beer.
What's like the shittiest beer in Europe?
It differs by country, because even there are some beers that are shitty in one country and good in another country.
Okay.
Like I think for our UK friends, Stella Artois is known as the old wife beater, known as a very low grade, kind of thing where it comes from in different countries. Yeah, it's Stella Artois, depending on some of those ones you see. It's some of those beers that who sponsors them? The UFC. They have some of those beer sponsors, and they are some of the shittiest beers in Europe. And Europeans all look. Was it San Miguel? I don't know. What's the UFC beer sponsor?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea.
Whatever it is, it's a shit beer in Europe.
Well,
we're all like, why is that trash water advertising UFC? But it's just how beers are marketed in different countries. It's almost arbitrary, I think.
So do you go into a store where you are? Is there an American beer section?
Not really.
Is there anything like that? Or is there any American beer at this store?
Good. If there is American beer, it's
like
far
Budweiser?
more likely to be some craft beer. No, it's far more likely.
Really?
We've had the craft beer revolution here already in Thailand. It's done. We've got it. It's happened. So, yeah, it'll be you're much more likely to have American. I'm really very unlikely to find Budweiser, any sort of like that, your typical American ones. Not maybe some beer stores, gone real crazy this month. But no, unfortunately.
What style would be like the trash beer? Is it still like a lager?
Sure. I think that's pretty much
some
trashy lager, some local. Sure. Everyone drinks their own local one. Everyone thinks they're all the same stuff. We've got two cities here, rivalry, that both got beer companies. You the Saku in the north or the Alakok in the south. But I'll fucking die on the Alakok hill, motherfuckers. So, even if you give me the choice, I still know the one I'm going to pick. Even though I broadly recognize it's all the same crap, right?
Well, to give you an example, like when I was stuck on the beach, not to say that stuck, but no, I was enjoying the beach, and my choices were Miller Lite or Bud Light.
Wow.
And that's here in America. So I was like, until it's gone, I'm drinking the Miller Lite. So I don't know what it is, but it's just like
we've all got our preference, even for those.
Yeah, weird. It's weird. So, and that's like the top of the food chain of trash beer. It goes downhill from there. There's a lot of
then you can get that really low class stuff like the bums drink. Beer comes in a plastic bottle sort of thing. Yeah. I don't know if you have those. I guess we have, unfortunately, that demographic here.
They have these things that I don't think they're a lot of them got in trouble because they were call themselves malt liquor.
Okay.
And they give them a new level of toxicity. That now they used to cap beer when I was growing up at 6%. In most places in America, if it got over 6% in alcohol, it was considered liquor. It had to be sold in a liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really a weird law that, again, is probably just regional to the United States. But now a lot of that's changed because you'll go in, you'll find beers that go up to 12%.
Sure.
Back then, they used to have to call them malt liquor, and then you could get, there were some awful ones of those.
Fuel,
yeah, there's this one called Steel Reserve, man. In college, you'd about go run in front of a semi truck and get run over on that.
Get you fired up.
Oh my goodness, ridiculously bad. I don't know what it is about the malt liquor. Have you ever had that kind of stuff?
No, to me, when you say that, I'm sort of just imagining a really shitty beer that's so it's been made with such high alcohol content, because it's harder. The more alcohol content, the harder it is to make the beer good, right? There's a sweet spot there. So they've just got insane levels of alcohol, and of course it tastes like malty trash or whatever. But if you are someone who is into that drink, then you're gonna, for better or for worse, that's what you're into.
Yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic, but
how do we get on
kind of fun.
I'm gonna say shitty beers. Pull it back regular beers.
Live stream. We can also try to
Yes.
find our shittiest beer. That's the challenge too. Bring a shitty beer to the live stream.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Shitty
One
beer. Right there.
shitty beer, and I'm going to find the shittiest malt liquor beer
Okay.
that I
We're
can
gonna do
find,
terrible
and we'll
beers
try
on
to
the
drink
show.
it.
Okay.
And
People
then I
can come
can
and
tell,
join us. If
I've
you've
got a
shitty
good
beer, you can
story about a malt liquor beer that I will save for that.
come. And I love how
good-
you'll be drinking at
A
11
good
a.m.
college
It's good.
story. Yeah,
Okay.
11 a.m. I'm sure I'll be real productive off just one malt. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a terribly unproductive Tuesday. That's okay.
Nice. Everyone, thank you very much for watching again. We appreciate the ramble. Join us for the live stream next week. If you go this far, we very much appreciate you listening. Steve, I'll see you next week, mate. Take care.
See you then.